The bedroom door creaked open in the dead of night, and there she was, Sage, the woman I'd tried so hard to forget, standing silently beside my infant daughter's crib, her hand hovering just above the sleeping child's head as if in benediction or betrayal. My heart seized in my chest. Mark, my husband, was downstairs oblivious, and in that frozen moment, I knew my carefully constructed life was unraveling. How had she found us here in this quiet suburb of Seattle, and what price would I pay for the secrets she'd unearthed? I stood there in the doorway, my nightgown clinging to my skin from the sudden sweat of fear and something deeper, something I buried years ago. Sage turned slowly, her hazel eyes locking onto mine with that same intensity that had once pulled me under like a riptide. "Ruby," she whispered, her voice a ghost from my past, "we need to talk." But talking was the last thing I wanted. It meant facing the truth I'd denied since college, since the night we shared that stolen kiss in the dorms, the one that had ignited a fire I thought I'd extinguished by marrying Mark and starting this family. My mind raced back to those days at the University of Washington, where Sage and I had met in a literature class. She was the bold one, with her short-cropped hair and opinions that challenged every professor. I was the quiet achiever, raised in a conservative family from Tacoma, where expectations were as rigid as the steel in my father's voice. "You'll marry well, Ruby," he'd say. "Build a life that's stable, not some flighty dream." And I had listened, pushing down the flutter in my stomach whenever Sage leaned close to debate a poem's meaning. But one evening, after a study session turned into wine and confessions, our hands brushed, and suddenly we were kissing, her lips soft and insistent, awakening parts of me I'd never acknowledged. I pulled away that night, terrified. "This isn't me," I'd stammered, fleeing back to my room where I cried myself to sleep, convincing myself it was a mistake, a momentary lapse. Sage had pursued gently at first, notes slipped under my door, invitations to coffee, but I ignored them, diving into dating guys from frat parties until I met Mark, kind, predictable Mark, who fit the mold my parents adored. We graduated, got engaged, and I moved on, or so I thought. Now here she was in my home, threatening everything. "Get out," I hissed, glancing at the crib where little Emma stirred slightly. Sage didn't move. "Not until you hear me out. You owe me that much." Owe her? The audacity burned through me. What did I owe the woman who'd nearly derailed my life? But deep down I knew. I owed her the truth I'd stolen from both of us. My parents had drilled it into me. Family first, appearances matter. Coming out would have meant disownment, whispers at church, the end of their dreams for me. So I'd chosen safety, but at what cost? I led her downstairs to the living room, away from Emma and Mark's snores echoing from the guest room. He'd been working late shifts at the hospital. The clock ticked past midnight as we sat on opposite ends of the couch. The space between us charged like a storm about to break. "Why now?" I demanded, my voice low but trembling. Sage leaned forward, her leather jacket creaking softly. "Because I saw you at the park last week with her, with your daughter. You looked empty, Ruby, like the girl I knew had vanished." Empty. The word hit like a slap. Was that how I appeared? Mornings blending into nights of diaper changes, playdates, and forced smiles at neighborhood barbecues. Mark was a good man, but our marriage felt like a script I was reading from, not living. Intimacy was routine, conversations surface level. I tell myself it was enough, that this was adulthood. But seeing Sage's face, memories flooded back. Late night walks along the Puget Sound, her hand in mine, laughing at nothing, feeling alive in a way I hadn't since. "I have a life here," I said, but even to my ears it sounded defensive. "A husband, a child. You can't just show up and what? Remind you of who you really are." She cut in, her eyes flashing. "You think I don't know about the pressure? Your family, society, it's all bullshit, Ruby. I came out after college, lost friends, but I gained myself. You're hiding." Hiding? Yes, that's what it was. Every family dinner, when my mother asked about more grandkids, I'd nod, swallowing the knot in my throat. At work, as a teacher, I'd hear kids whisper about those people, and I'd stay silent, fearing judgment. But inside, the conflict raged. Was I betraying myself by staying, or betraying my family by considering leaving? Sage reached across the couch, her fingers brushing mine, and I jerked back as if burned. "Don't," I whispered, but my heart pounded with longing. We talked or argued until dawn threatened. She told me about her life now, running a bookstore in Capitol Hill, dating women openly, building a community. You could have that, she said. With me or without. But not this half-life. As she left, slipping out the back door, I collapsed on the couch, tears streaming. What had I done? Invited chaos into my perfect facade. That morning, as Mark kissed me goodbye, I wondered if he saw the cracks. The days that followed were a blur of torment. At school, grading papers, my mind wandered to Sage. I'd drive by her bookstore on lunch breaks, parking across the street, watching through the window as she laughed with customers. One afternoon I went in, pretending it was coincidence. "Ruby," she said, surprise lighting her face. We ended up in the back room, surrounded by stacks of books, and she kissed me, soft, tentative. I didn't pull away this time. It felt like coming home. But guilt crashed in waves. That night, holding Emma, I whispered apologies to her tiny form. How could I upend her world? My parents would call it selfish, sinful. Society would label me unstable. Yet the lie was eating me alive. I started seeing a therapist in secret, unpacking the years of suppression. "It's okay to question," she said, but was it? When Mark noticed my distraction, I blamed work stress. The deception twisted like a knife. Then came the confrontation. Mark found a text from Sage on my phone, innocent but damning. "Who's this?" he asked over dinner, his voice calm but eyes hurt. I froze, the fork midway to my mouth. "An old friend." I lied, but he pressed. The argument escalated. Voices rising until Emma cried upstairs. "Are you having an affair?" he shouted. I couldn't deny it fully. "It's not that simple," I sobbed. He stormed out, leaving me alone with the wreckage. In the silence, I called Sage. "I need you," I said, and she came. We sat on the porch as rain pattered down, her arm around me. "This is the start," she murmured. But was it? The path ahead loomed with custody battles, family estrangement, societal stares. I'd sworn to live the life they wanted, but now, with Sage beside me, I questioned if that oath was worth my soul. The fallout hit like a hurricane. Mark moved to his brother's place the next day, packing a suitcase with mechanical precision while I watched from the hallway, Emma on my hip. "We'll figure out the details later," he said, his voice flat, avoiding my eyes. As his car pulled away, the house felt cavernous, echoing with the absence of his presence. I should have felt relief, but instead, panic clawed at my chest. What had I done? Uprooted everything for a feeling I barely understood. Sage offered to stay over, but I refused. "I need time," I told her, though truth be told, I was terrified of diving deeper. Alone that night, I paced the living room, replaying our marriage in my mind. Mark had been my anchor, steady job as a doctor, shared dreams of a white picket fence. We'd met at a mutual friend's wedding, bonded over bad dancing and worse cake. He proposed on a ferry ride across the Sound, and I'd said yes, convinced it was right. But now, hindsight revealed the cracks. My reluctance for more intimacy, the way I'd zone out during his stories, always feeling like something was missing. My phone buzzed with texts from my sister Claire. "Mom's worried. What's going on?" I ignored them, not ready for the interrogation. Instead, I drove to Sage's apartment above the bookstore, the city lights blurring through tears. She opened the door in pajamas, pulling me inside without a word. We sat on her worn couch, herbal tea steaming between us. "Tell me," she said simply. The words poured out. The pressure from my evangelical upbringing, the fear of hellfire for unnatural desires, the way my father had disowned a cousin for coming out. "They'll hate me," I whispered. Sage listened, her hand on my knee. "They might. But you can't live for their approval." Her own story unfolded. Kicked out at 18, scraping by in hostels until she built her life. It hurt, but freedom tastes better than chains. We kissed again that night, slow and exploratory, but I stopped before it went further. "I'm not ready," I admitted, and she nodded understanding. Back home, I stared at the ceiling, wrestling with morality. Was loving Sage wrong? Society said yes in subtle ways. Lack of representation, slurs in media, laws still lagging. But in my heart, it felt pure, more real than anything with Mark. The next week, work became a refuge and a minefield. As a high school English teacher, I face students daily, some openly queer, others bullying them. One day, a girl named Mia confided in me about her crush on a classmate. "Is it okay?" she asked, eyes wide. I hesitated, then said, "Love is love." Hypocrite, I thought later. If it was okay for her, why not me? Family pressure mounted. My mother called, voice laced with concern. "Mark says you're going through something. Come home, let's pray about it." I went, leaving Emma with a sitter. The drive to Tacoma was agony, memories of Sunday sermons preaching against the gay agenda. At dinner, my father grilled me. "What's this nonsense? You have a family." I broke down, admitting the separation but not the why. "We're working on it," I lied. But lies have a way of unraveling. Claire snooped and found Sage's profile online, connected the dots. "You're leaving him for a woman?" she hissed in a late-night call. "Think about Emma." I did, constantly. Would she grow up confused, bullied, or would she see a mother brave enough to be authentic? The mouth one tore at me. Sage and I started dating quietly, coffee dates turning into walks in Volunteer Park. Her touch grounded me. Her laughter healed old wounds. But betrayal lurked. Mark filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, but in private, he accused me of deceit. "How long have you known?" he demanded in our lawyer's office. "Years," I confessed, shame burning. He looked betrayed and I couldn't blame him. I'd used him as a shield. One evening, Sage confessed her own doubts. "What if I'm just a phase for you?" she asked, vulnerability cracking her confidence. I reassured her, but inside I wondered too. Was this real, or rebellion? The societal whispers amplified. Friends distancing, parents cold shoulders. At a school event, a parent pulled her child away, murmuring about influences. The climax built when my father showed up unannounced. "This ends now," he boomed, Bible in hand. We argued in the kitchen, Emma napping upstairs. "You're choosing sin over family," he yelled. I stood my ground for the first time. "I'm choosing happiness." He left, disowning me in words that cut deep. Alone I sobbed, questioning every decision. Had I traded one prison for another? Yet, with Sage's support, I began rebuilding. Therapy helped unpack the trauma, friends, true ones, rallied. But the cost was high. Lost relationships, financial strain from the divorce. Mark sought joint custody, and court dates loomed, each a battleground of accusations. Courtrooms have a sterile chill that seeps into your bones, amplifying every whisper of doubt. As I sat there in the King County Courthouse, waiting for the judge to rule on custody, my hands trembled in my lap. Mark sat across the aisle, his lawyer painting me as unstable, influenced by alternative lifestyles. Sage waited outside, her presence a secret comfort I couldn't acknowledge. The judge's gavel would decide if Emma stayed with me halftime, or if my choices cost me my daughter. The hearing dragged, testimonies twisting facts. Mark's sister claimed I'd been distant, neglectful. My lawyer countered with character witnesses, but inside I flagellated myself. Had I been selfish? Prioritizing my truth over Emma's stability? Nights before, I'd held her close, inhaling her baby scent, vowing to fight. But fight for what? A life where she might face prejudice because of me? Post-hearing, Sage met me at a cafe, her eyes searching mine. "How'd it go?" I shrugged. Exhaustion weighing me down. "They're questioning everything." She squeezed my hand. "You're strong, Ruby. Stronger than you know." But was I? That night, alone with Emma, I journaled my turmoil. The pull between authenticity and sacrifice. Society demanded women like me conform, marry, mother, mute desires. Defying that meant labels. Homewrecker, deviant. Family rifts deepened. My mother sent letters, pleading for repentance. "Think of your soul," she wrote. I crumpled them, anger mixing with grief. How could love damn me? Sage shared her scars, estrangement from her parents, but also joy in chosen family. "We build our own," she said during a picnic in Gasworks Park, wind tousling her hair. Picnics became our sanctuary, moments of normalcy amid chaos. But betrayal struck again. A mutual friend from college, jealous or judgmental, outed me to the school board. Whispers turned to complaints. "Is she fit to teach?" The principal called me in, expression grave. We support diversity, but parents are concerned. Suspended pending review. I felt the ground shift. Teaching was my passion, my identity beyond motherhood. Losing it would devastate. In desperation, I confronted the friend. Why? I demanded over coffee. She sneered. You're destroying lives for a whim. Whim. The word ignited fury. This wasn't fleeting, it was core to who I was. Driving home. Tears blinded me. Sage waited, holding me as I raged. They don't understand, she soothed. But understanding wouldn't pay bills or mend hearts. Mark and I mediated, tensions high. I want what's best for Emma, he said, softer now. But this changes everything. We agreed on joint custody, but the victory felt hollow. Picking Emma up from his place, seeing his new apartment sparse and sad, guilt resurfaced. Had I betrayed him irreparably? Sage and I grew closer, navigating our relationship amid storms. Dates involved deep talks, her fears of being a rebound, my worries about societal backlash. One night, walking home from dinner, a group of guys catcalled, slurs flying. Dyke, they shouted. Sage tensed, but I pulled her away, heart racing. Ignore them, I said, but the incident lingered, a reminder of dangers. Internally, Mouthwan peaked. Was pursuing this worth the pain? Therapy sessions delved deeper. Childhood repression, internalized homophobia. You're grieving the life you thought you'd have, my therapist said. Yes, grieving the approval, the ease. But glimpses of joy with Sage, cooking together, reading to Emma, hinted at worth. The school board ruled, reinstated, but with warnings. Relief washed over, but scars remained. Parents eyed me warily at pickups. Students, though, surprised. Mia thanked me for my honesty, coming out herself. Inspiration amid ashes. Family thawed slightly. Claire visited, hesitant. I don't get it, but I love you. We hugged, tears flowing. Progress, fragile but real. Father remained distant, but mother's calls softened. Highs and lows intertwined. Sage proposed moving in, but I hesitated. Too soon, she asked, hurt flashing. No, just scared. We argued, voices rising. You can't half commit, she said. I stormed out, driving aimlessly, questioning if I could fully embrace this life. Reconciliation came at dawn. I returned, apologizing. I'm all in. We kissed, sealing a pact amid uncertainty. But costs mounted. Financial from legal fees, emotional from losses. Was the freedom worth it? Months blurred into a new rhythm, one laced with tentative hope and lingering shadows. Living with Sage felt surreal. Waking to her coffee brewing, Emma's giggles at her silly faces. Our home in Seattle's Fremont neighborhood buzzed with life. Books scattered, art on walls. A far cry from the sterile perfection of my marriage. But integration wasn't seamless. Emma, at one, adapted quickly, calling Sage Saya in her babble. Mark, during drop-offs, eyed us warily, small talk strained. Societal pressures persisted. At a pride event Sage dragged me to, rainbows everywhere. I felt exposed, exhilarated. Holding her hand publicly was a declaration, but stares followed, curious, hostile. Is this us now? I whispered. She nodded. If we want it. Wanted I did, but fear nagged. What if Emma suffered for it? Work stabilized, but prejudices simmered. A colleague made snide remarks about lifestyle choices. I reported it, standing firm. This is who I am, I declared in the staff meeting. Applause from some, silence from others. Victory tasted bittersweet. Family dynamics shifted dramatically. My father suffered a minor heart attack, pulling me back to Tacoma. At the hospital, he looked frail, regret in his eyes. I was wrong, he murmured. Life's too short for hate. We talked haltingly about forgiveness, his upbringing rigid as mine. I want to know my granddaughter, and you. Tears came, bridges mending slowly. But not all mended. Mother struggled, attending therapy with me. I raised you to be good, she said. This feels wrong. Patiently, I explained. Love isn't wrong. Progress in inches. Sage's past resurfaced, testing us. An ex-girlfriend, bitter, spread rumors online about her stealing me. Social media exploded. Old friends unfriending, anonymous hate. Ignore it, Sage said, but I saw her hurt. We fought. Your baggage affects us, I accused. She countered. Like yours doesn't? The argument peaked with slammed doors, me sleeping on the couch. Reconciliation involved vulnerability. I'm scared of losing you, she admitted. Me too, I confessed. We recommitted stronger. Emma's first birthday party became a battleground. Inviting both families, tensions brewed. Mark arrived civil, but my parents whispered. Sage charmed, but cracks showed. When a relative asked invasively about our roles, I snapped. We're parents. End of. The party ended awkwardly, but Emma's joy centered me. Internally, I grappled with ethics. Had I chosen correctly? Divorcing Mark meant his pain, but staying would have suffocated me. Society debated such choices endlessly, loyalty versus self. I leaned on support groups, hearing stories mirroring mine. Women awakening late, paying dearly. A crisis hit when Emma fell ill, fever spiking. At the ER, Mark and I united, Sage by my side. The doctor assumed Mark and I were together, ignoring Sage. She's family too, I insisted. In that moment, clarity. This was my chosen path, worth defending. Recovery brought reflection. Walking with Sage along the waterfront, Emma in a stroller, peace settled. We've paid the price, I said. Now we live. She smiled, kissing my temple. But twists remained. Claire revealed she'd known about my feelings in college, stayed silent out of fear. I betrayed you by not supporting, she said. Forgiveness flowed, bonds strengthening. As seasons changed, growth emerged. I wrote an article for a local paper on coming out later in life, sparking debates. Responses varied, supportive, critical. You're brave, one said. Selfish, another. The controversy invigorated, affirming my voice. Sage and I planned a commitment ceremony, small and intimate. Inviting Mark felt right. He declined politely. Happy for you, he texted, healing evident. Yet, doubts lingered in quiet moments. Staring at Emma sleeping, I wondered. Did my choices doom or liberate her? The ceremony unfolded in a sun-dappled garden in Bainbridge Island, ferried across the Sound with close friends and mending family. Sage stood radiant in a simple white dress, her pixie cut styled elegantly. Eyes shining as I walked toward her in ivory. Vows exchanged, promises of honesty, resilience amid storms. Rings slipped on, a kiss sealing our union. Applause rippled. But inside, triumph mixed with the weight of journeys traversed. Post-ceremony, life accelerated. We honeymooned briefly in the San Juans. Islands whispering of new beginnings. Back home, routine solidified. Shared parenting with Mark improving, Emma thriving in daycare. But society didn't pause its judgments. A neighborhood petition circulated against non-traditional families influencing kids. Aimed subtly at us. We fought back at community meetings, voices united. Love builds strong homes, I argued, passion fueling. Wins came. My article went viral, leading to speaking gigs at LGBTQ centers. Strangers shared stories, validating my path. But costs persisted, old friends ghosting, online trolls. Sage's bookstore faced boycotts from conservatives, sales dipping. We'll weather it, she said, determination fierce. Personal growth deepened. Therapy unearthed more. Resentment toward my parents for instilled fears. Forgiveness for myself. You did what you could, my therapist affirmed. With Sage, intimacy bloomed naturally, emotional depths explored without rush. A major confrontation arose with Mark. Over coffee, he admitted. I saw signs but ignored them. I'm sorry. Tears fell. We hugged, co-parenting evolving to friendship. Emma's lucky, he said. Family fully reconciled. Father attended Emma's playdates, awkward at first but warming. Proud of you, he grumbled one day. Mother baked for us. Acceptance growing. Yet, betrayals echoed. A former colleague leaked private emails, sparking scandal at school. Suspended again, I sued for discrimination, battle fierce. Media frenzy ensued. Headlines debating morality of queer teachers. Support poured from allies, but stress strained our relationship. Sage and I argued over strategies. Fight louder, she urged. Protect Emma, I countered. Resolution came via settlement. Reinstated with apologies. Victory, but exhaustion followed. Is it always this hard? I asked Sage in bed. For us? Often. But worth it. Emma's second birthday marked turning points. Surrounded by blended family, laughter filled the air. Watching her blow candles, I reflected. Choices led here. Painful, transformative. As years hinted ahead, questions lingered. Society evolved slowly, rights advancing but backlashes real. My story became a beacon for others, but at personal toll. In quiet nights, holding Sage, peace dominated. We'd face conflicts, paid prices awakened. But was betraying the expected life for authenticity truly right? Or did the damages outweigh the gains?